Hello, DM Geezer Jim here, back for another entry in our audiobook, Uncaged Faces of Sigil. We are on to our next entry is Kylie. This NPC's name has been mentioned multiple times in a lot of the other stories, starting back in Autocon and moving forward. So you've heard her name mentioned a couple other people. Let's get into her. As usual, we will read through the entry and then we will talk about gameplay applications, mechanics, stuff like that at the end of the video. Thanks for hanging out. Let's get into it. Kylie. Sometimes a body new to Sigil needs to pick up chant that's just too obvious, too fleeting, or too dangerous to be scratched into print. What's more, most clueless sods fresh from the prime material plane could use a good guide to steer them through the breathing morass of the cage. And now and then a Burke needs to be led to the right high up, shown a way to open closed doors, or introduced to his next date or meal, or both. There's plenty of touts who will provide these services for more than a copper or six, but folks in the know that say the most talented and trustworthy tout in the cage, if there is such a thing as a trustworthy tout, is the whip-smart tiefling known only as Kylie. Finding Kylie ain't a problem. She's on a first-name basis with practically everyone in town, from the drunkest beggar to the straightest judge. That's what makes her good at what she does, but chances are Kylie, or one of her growing crowd, will find a sod first. The tiefling makes it her business to know when folks are in need of her services, even if they didn't know it themselves. Though small-boned and svelte, Kylie's a commanding presence on the streets of the cage, her kinky flame-red hairs pulled into a high ponytail that mushrooms out over her head. This shock of scarlet, coupled with her paled skin, stands out sharply against the blue-black leather that tightly hugs most of her sinewy body. Her tiny oval face is dominated by large blue eyes. A white scar accents her left brow, which is pierced by a slender golden hoop. Fact is, though tiefling, Kylie's appearance is completely human, except, of course, for the long leather-wrapped tail that seems to lurk quietly behind her. A pointed pike head covers its tip, and even when still, her tail can spring forward and strike in the blink of a mephit's eye. More than a few gullible sods have found her tail to be a surprise of one sort or another. But it ain't just her looks that make the tout an eye-opener. Her irrepressible spirit seems to win over even the gruffest folks in each ward. As she moves through Sigil, and she's always on the move, Kylie's got a nod, a wink, a whistle, smile, or a tickle for at least half the Burks in her path. When she knows she's got an expectant admirer, she's likely to keep the poor sod waiting, sailing by without even acknowledging his presence. Then, sure his eyes are on her back, she'll give a little wave behind her head, laughing. Pitchman Harris Hatches always falls for that one. Peary folk claim Kylie's gestures are more than just playful greetings. Some say they're actually secret signs or codes. To this query, Kylie just shrugs, grins, and responds to with her characteristic maybe. Of course, the next time she spies a doubter, she's sure to create a few new movements to perform in front of the sod, the more to get tongues wagging. For Kylie and her tout service, it's just free advertising, better than anything Harris Hatches could dream up. Most cagers see Kylie as a friendly and inquisitive young tiefling who likes to be at the center of everything, just like Sigil itself, a natural tout. But there's also chant that it's all an act, that the secret ambition burning inside her is as red hot as Kylie's scarlet hair. Kylie's naysayers point to the fact that she doesn't have a single true friend, just a host of favorite acquaintances who pay her to direct tourists their way. But Kylie would disagree. After all, her best friend in the multiverse is never out of her sight, her pet ethic, Dib. The two are inseparable. The one-eyed Dib often rides perched on Kylie's shoulder, his long tail reaching down the tout's back to entwine with her own. Dib is alert, well-trained, and immaculate. Kylie takes pains to pick the fleas and soot from his brown fur. Of course, there's Burks who say the ethic's not what he seems either. Dib does a heart-rending I'm injured act to bring down the house and bring in the customers, and ethics are known for their power to bring out aggression and testiness in the minds of those nearby. That can serve a tiefling well, especially if she needs attention getter or a distraction to duck out of the side of the harmonium. Along with Dib, Kylie's got a bunch of quick and keen cutters, touts, light boys, a courier or two working for her. She calls them her crowd, and that's as official as it gets. Any more definitive label or headquarters would make them an easy mark for rivals or offended high-ups. After all, the cage has plenty of powerful bloods who get deadly serious about chant gathered by their spies, especially when it pertains to them personally. And the factions dislike Kylie too. Their factorium guides try to lead tourists around by the nose, always with a sly eye on a philosophical agenda. Naturally, it's bad for business when one of Kylie's crowd dashes by yelling, "Don't get peeled by that factioneer cutter. Hire a tout who will take you where you want to go." So Kylie keeps her crowds constantly on the prowl for new clients, moving targets and all that, and rotates their rounds. Often she also uses Dib's power to protect her workers by setting potential enemies against each other instead. Her gang communicates covertly, often through astral streakers, the messenger birds of Sigil who are sent their destinations with a whisper. Kylie sometimes sends a few decoy streakers bearing blank messages to sods who don't work for her, just in case anyone's watching. Most folks in the cage know not to interfere with a streaker on a delivery mission. Sure, trying to harm a bird or remove a message wrapped around its leg is a criminal offense, but worse still, it's a waste of time. If anyone but the intended recipient touches an astral streaker, its entire body, message included, loses all substance. Streakers usually fly messages only for the stewards at halls of information in the clerk's ward, but Kylie sent enough lost tourists to the hall to be given a small flock of her own in exchange. Kylie's streakers sometimes make side trips to the gatehouse and the hive, delivering messages about various Yugoloths who come and go in Sigil. Zedeus, a Shator Garaleth holed up in the gatehouse, pays well for the information. See, the Leth's working on a revision of the Book of Keeping, the legendary tome that spills the dark on summoning and binding Yugoloths, and the more he learns, the better. Once in a while, Kylie sends a streaker to a young cutter with a note inviting him to join her crowd. Of course, the offer is only extended to those that she's had her eye on for some time. To get her attention, a Burke's got to show great initiative, get on swimmingly with all manner of beings, and clearly need a job. No bored rich kids need apply. Basically, if Kylie can see a bit of herself in a candidate, she can trust him, at least enough to put him to work. The tiefling's particularly intrigued with recent additions to her crowd, a spunky lad called Surtos the Short. Though a street urchin, he's got the mind of an experienced adult, literally. Cetrus was a master thief who lifted a jewel from the wrong high-up's purse. The poor sod got hit with a curse that turned him into a youngster. The cross-trader lost his skills, but not his smarts, and when the grimy little bugger approached Kylie advertising his advanced talents, she couldn't help but take a shine to him. Once Kylie's decided to ask a body to run with her crowd, she recruits him much as she lands any customer. That way, the sod learns her business practice at the same time he gets enlisted. First and foremost, the tiefling prefers to be the aggressor. She approaches the potential customer or runner with a smile. "You're looking for something, friend. I can see it in your eyes." If the Burke shakes his head, Kylie starts to run through a list of things she feels, having sized him up already, that he might want after all. Of course, this kind of approach means Kylie's got to be up on all the races of the plains. Otherwise, she might accidentally direct a Githzerai to a pub for Elithids, or try to tempt a Ysgardian Barire with a nice thick cut of horse meat. When feeling out a customer's Kylie begins with simple practical possibilities, a meal, a bed, a gate key, and so on, but then goes on to discuss extravagant and bizarre services that the sod usually doesn't even know exist. Believe it or not, a lot of primes wouldn't have the first idea where to hire an Arcadian pony cab or take a soak in scented holy water. The idea is to keep the customer talking until Kylie finds something that interests him. Once she has the sod, she stops cold. Of course, if he's truly a potential customer, he'll be quick to start the conversation up again. After all, she's the one who brought up the subject in the first place. Naturally, Kylie responds in kind, but she always makes the sod ask her if she can help him get the thing she told him he wanted. Once he comes out and asks for it, she smiles, pretends to think, and says, "Maybe." The tactic's off-putting to some, but Kylie finds it makes most sods even hungrier for the promised prize, and more willing to part with their jink for it. Kylie keeps her crowd happy, giving them a sense of purpose, a dream of a better future, or whatever motivates them, even if it's just enough copper to stay alive till tomorrow. She herself prefers to be paid in magical items, though she won't turn her nose up at a bag full of coins or an earful of secrets. Maybe it's the child in her, but Kylie's simply intrigued by all things magical. Don't misunderstand, she's got no designs on becoming a wizard. She just likes to own magical items, whether they're useful or not. Aluvius Ruskin gave her an earring of protection for steering portal jumpers to her gate key supply shop, but Kylie's current favorite item is something called Hill Pop's Golden Quill. Given to her by a grateful bladeling, the quill lets her write simple messages that can be read and understood by any being, no matter what the difference in language or intelligence. All magical toys aside, Kylie does have serious ambitions. She wants to head her own blanket of touts and spies to cover the cage. She grew up on the streets of Sigil an orphan, dreaming of a time when she wouldn't have to worry about where to scrounge her next hot meal. A time when folks would clamor to give her jink rather than the boot. She watched and learned from the other touts, sure to her bones that she could do better. Then she went to work and proved it by working as a courier for Otto-chan the bell ringer, trying to familiarize herself with every pebble in every street in Sigil. Kylie was a tireless worker and felt important carrying messages from one high up to another throughout the city. Of course, the fee she had to pay Otto-chan for the right to deliver each message became harder and harder to swallow. Rather than have her tongue cut out for refusing to pay, Kylie eventually decided to leave. Fact is, she just happened to be in the middle of an extremely delicate delivery, a note from the Asura Koi to the Ursonal Tripicus about an arms shipment to the Abyss, when she quit. She kept the message, which she used to get her own business off and running, and sent Otto-chan her letter of resignation, by courier, of course. Otto-chan didn't come after her, but Kylie wasn't surprised. She figured the Burk's ego was too large to draw attention to the fact that he'd been peeled by a young girl. What she doesn't know was that Otto-chan's restraint stemmed from a debt he owed to the king of the cross trade, Shemeshka the Marauder. Fact is, the bellringer owes his life to the Yugoloth, and the fiends told him she holds him personally responsible for keeping Kylie and her crowd from harm, a uniquely painful endeavor for him. Shemeshka claims that she wants to let Kylie build an efficient organization and then take it over, adding it to her own vast network of spies. But Otto-chan can't see that the fiend would wait that long to turn a profit. He thinks Shemeshka's got other reasons she's keeping dark. Meanwhile, Kylie's working hard to build her business. She and her crowd scouts portals for newcomers, keeping their eyes open for adventurers, the folks most likely needing her brand of help. Sometimes she tries to sweet-talk a basher into running protection for her crowd in exchange for whatever he'd liked most from the city. And she only refers her customers to the Bloods and Sigils that she's found she could count on over the years, thereby ensuring satisfaction for all concerned. Iarmid, who runs the other place across from the Great Gymnasium, pays her well to direct tired travelers his way. So does Kesto Bright Eyes, who's always looking to expand his bookshop's clientele. Fact is, it was Bright Eyes who introduced Kylie to her best friend. Seems Kylie pointed out the bookshop to an Aasimar scholar on the hunt for a good history of Mount Celestia. Bright Eyes searched as often talked about backroom for a copy of the Velvet Tome and found Dib instead. He brought the ethic to Kylie, figuring that since she sent the Aasimar to his shop in the first place, the ethic must somehow belong to her. "Have you been looking for one of these?" the gnome asked, holding the curious Dib up in front of her face. "Maybe," said Kylie, placing the ethic on her shoulder and striding off down the street with a smile. And that's the end of our reading on Kylie. Quick shant, she is a tiefling. She is a 8th level rogue in 2nd edition terms, just as you need to. She's resourceful, impish, and charming as far as her personality goes. Kylie is a playful flirt, but she's very savvy and manipulative. She tries to hook a new client by talking to him until she realizes what he wants. Then she makes him ask for it. Although she's ambitious, she likes to keep folk guessing, often responding, maybe, to any inquiry, even when she has a different answer. Combat. Kylie's willing to go toe-to-toe with any Burk who challenges her. Her short sword of quickness lets her strike first, and her tail gives her a second attack, though she often slashes silently with the pike before the victim knew what hit him. Kylie will also command Dib to sway a third party into attacking her foe. She's connected to Otto-chan the Bellringer, Kesto Bright Eyes, Harris Hatchis, Koi, Alluvius Ruskin, Shemeshka the Marauder, Tripicus, Will of the One, and Zedeos. Okay, that's our story about Kylie. Her artwork is pretty famous for Planescape stuff. Dieter Lizzie did a great job with her art. So what do we get when we get into, what does Kylie mean for our campaigns, for our stuff in Sigil? Very simple. A friendly face for our players to interact with when they first arrive in Sigil. Kylie is looking out for herself and her crew and for her profitability. And part of that means making sure that she has good, happy customers, both on the receiving and the giving end. Basically, the new arrivals to Sigil benefit the people that she directs them to, and the new arrivals are benefit from the people she directs them to. So Kylie, at this point in her career, is all about making sure that people get what they need. She's expanding her network. She's strengthening her ties. So she provides a good neutral slash friendly face for our players to interact with when they first arrive in Sigil. Now, if you have the horny bard aspect in your game, that can certainly add a little bit more in your group. That can add a little bit more into the game, because Kylie is very much listed, in all aspects of her presentation in Planescape through the years. She's always listed as very attractive, very flirtatious, very energetic. Someone that people want to get to know. Someone that people like to interact with, and that's by by proxy part of her non-player character design. Someone smiley, someone cute, someone pretty, someone fun, someone happy, someone that can connect with everybody and anybody, and still provide services and information to you people. She is protected by both the good and the bad, the good guys and the bad guys within the faction. The Celestials, Tripicus and Koei and Cyrilli favor her stuff, as does the Shemeshka the Marauder, the dark side of things. As a matter of fact, Koei and her crew are protected by Autochan the Bellringer. Lots of speculation run rampant as to why that is. But I would definitely recommend to any dungeon masters that are planning on running Sigil, invest some time in Kylie, invest some time in her story. She is a for lack of a better term, she's a low-hanging fruit for an interactive non-player character that you can use to move your party anywhere within Sigil. She's well connected, she's well protected, and she's reliable. So she poses as one of the safer non-player characters for your players to deal with. As long as they're looking for information, they don't screw with her or her people, she will continue being an asset for your party. But a couple other things that kind of present themselves in this story as you're reading through is the interaction between touts, delivery of messages, the astral streakers that go to and fro. A lot of information given here in regards to, even if you're not using Kylie, any other tout. The importance of touts to your campaign. The people that live in Sigil, so they know it. But our players likely aren't coming from Sigil. They're coming from the outer planes, or they're coming from the material plane. They're coming from the outlands. They're finding themselves in the city for the first time. So having a friendly, kinder, gentler non-player character to ease them into the streets of Sigil is always a good thing. And Kylie fills that role really well. So we're going to go ahead and end the video now. Appreciate your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Likes, follows, subscribes, shares, all of those cool little button pushers are greatly appreciated. Join us over on Twitch for live chat if you want to. Tuesdays through Fridays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central. All the stuff is on my YouTube page. Feel free to find us over there. But above all else, thank you for your time. Hopefully you're enjoying this series, you're enjoying these videos, and you'll come back for more soon. You guys take care, and we'll catch up again.